It's not as simple as it seems when looking at the newest 3.1 banners, and this is the best time to investigate the whole situation. But first, a quick word from today's sponsor. This video is brought to you by Genshin Impact 3rd, which is now getting updated with a major 6.0 version. Now, the big focus of this update is the new character Elijah, who's Herrscher of Human Ego. You can basically think of Herrscher as an Archon in Genshin. They are major characters that advance the plotline, and most importantly, they're really cool and have amazing abilities. And get this, Elijah here can unleash an ultimate that will transform her into a mermaid, and she can also summon a spirit that deals ice damage to her enemies. Also, a big part of this update are summer events. And you know how crazy gacha games are about summer outfits? Well, this game is no exception. You can unlock some cool new summer outfits, including a completely free Shadow Knight Seagull Soar outfit. Just complete the summer quests like a true gacha gamer. There's also 2 more outfits which you can get by using crystals. Gricio's Summer as a painting looks like she's about to paint the town red, and Vilvi makes me believe she decided to go for Pirate's Life with her newest summer outfit. Just look at this. When she is in battle, her missiles become water bombs, which I think is kinda scary and cute. So make sure to check out Genshin Impact 3rd's newest update by using my link in the description. Also, use my code shown here to redeem awesome rewards and help support my channel. So there's a lot of hype surrounding Cyno, but I think it wouldn't hurt to first understand some of the good and crucial things about him. First of all, I've seen some people saying that he's the new 5-star Razor, which honestly couldn't be more further from the truth. Our best boy Razor gains electro attacks from his Wolf stand, and he still deals physical damage. And for the most part, Razor is a physical damage dealer, even if there has been recently a new team emerging from the Dendro meta. But the point is, Cyno's playstyle is actually going to be very similar to Xiao's or Ito's. You don't want to do anything with this guy besides go into his burst mode and unleash his damage. In fact, I would argue that the closest electric character we have to Cyno in similarities would be Raiden's Shogun. They are the only 2 electric characters that stay on the field for an extended period of time, while also dealing electro damage, although Raiden does provide support to her team by restoring energy. Speaking of which, there was no mention in the livestream that Cyno will provide any kind of support to his team, from passives or talents, so it's safe to assume this guy is going to have a selfish playstyle. Now, is that a bad thing? Not at all. Plenty of characters have selfish playstyles, and players don't mind building teams around them, as long as you understand that fundamentally speaking, Cyno will more or less just be an on-field damage dealer. Now, another reason why I compared him to Xiao and Ito was the burst cost management. We all know Hoyoverse at this point loves to slap 80 energy cost on a lot of new characters, and if that's the case with Cyno, he will need energy recharge and some electro teammates to help him out. I don't expect this to be a huge problem, since Fischl is a great battery, and maybe potentially Dory will also be able to restore 15 energy from her burst, because as I said in my previous video about Dory, not many characters actually stay on the field when the lamp is out, but Cyno actually will be fighting for an extended period of time, so the lamp's energy generation might become pretty useful to him. Finally, if we talk about his team builds, I expect his strongest team comp is going to be Quicken, so something like Fischl, Dendro Traveler, Animo unit like Kazuha are going to be his bread and butter, and if you're thinking of pre-farming artifacts for him, well, right now I would say the safer option would be Gilded Dreams, but there's also Thundering Fury. Although it was shown in the livestream he has a passive effect where an eye appears on the screen, and if you land his skill at that time, the damage will be significantly higher. So what this means is that you really want to land his skill with a passive, and there is a chance Thundering Fury might not synergize with the timing when the eye appears on the screen. But that's why I get to have an early access to the media server in advance, so I'll be able to test this out and give you the answer on Cyno's day 1 release. All in all, I think out of the all newest characters coming up in 3.1, Cyno seems to be the most straightforward one. His playstyle looks really cool, but we still need to find out how good are his ICDs and damage multipliers, because these things will determine his overall performance. Now, along with Phase 1 banners, Candace will be the new featured 4-star. I'm actually really excited about her, because we're finally getting a Hydro polearm character. Now, her elemental skill seems very similar to Yunjin's or Beto's, where you can just hold it down, and with one of the passives, if an enemy attacks while she has her shield raised, it will unleash its best damage version. Honestly, the shield is more or less just a gimmick here, because the real thing I want to focus on is her burst. It will first deal Hydro AoE damage, and then everyone in the team who's either Sword, Claymore, or polearm user will have their normal attacks infused with Hydro. This is really interesting, but as of now, I cannot think of too many ways how this Hydro infusion can be utilized in the Abyss. Like, we already have Chongyun, and he has one of the lowest usage rates. Although there have been some funny team comps you can go for, like Krao Zhongli with Yunjin and Shenhe. But with Candace's burst, I imagine Hydro Infusion should be bringing some kind of utility, and the one thing that pops into my mind would be the bloom reactions. If you don't know this already, when a Hydro attack is made on Dendro Aura, some of it actually still remains. So you can, for example, squeeze out 2 Dendro cores by using Hydro on Dendro. And let's say Candace burst gets utilized by someone like Dendro Traveler. Well, now you could trigger bloom reactions by just using normal attacks on enemies affected by Dendro. But how viable this is? Probably not that great, especially considering there will be ICD on this Hydro Infusion, and we'll need to find out how to work around it when Candace gets released. Now finally, her burst also improves any character's normal attacks elemental damage, but if it's somewhere around 20 to 35%, I wouldn't really consider it to be a major upgrade, especially how irrelevant this might feel for some normal attack users with low damage multipliers. Still, I'm pretty excited to see what kind of wacky team comps I'll be able to come up with Candace, but my initial expectations for her are pretty low, although the fact she is using a polearm and a shield will be enough for me to play her for the rest of the update. Oh, and if you haven't noticed, her burst actually stays on the active character, which is really nice, and you're not restricted to fight inside a field like with Chongyun or C6 Benny Boy. Probably one of the most polarizing characters coming with 3.1 is going to be Nilou. Now, if you're wondering why, well, it's because her whole kit is designed around a very specific team comp. You see, if the team is made up with Hydro and Dendro characters, when Nilou is using her elemental skill, she will activate a special effect for the team, where the Dendro cores from bloom reactions will get replaced with bountiful cores. They are basically an upgraded version of Dendro cores. They explode for more damage, expire really fast, and cannot be triggered by Hyper Bloom or Burgeon. But as I just said, you can only create these new special bountiful cores if the team is made up of Hydro and Dendro characters. So this means you need to have at least Nilou and one other Dendro character, while the other 2 slots can be a mix of Hydro and Dendro. But in reality, how many teams can you really build assuming we have Nilou? Tignari is going to be pretty bad since his damage heavily relies on quicken reaction, so we're left with Dendro Traveler and Kale, and since you still take damage from the bloom explosion, you will need a healer, which means either Kokomi or Barbara will have to be utilized. To me, this feels like Hoyoverse is just trying to see how far they can go with a 5-star that offers a unique playstyle and even modifies reactions, but at the same time, it also has extremely limiting team comps that potentially force you into committing to future characters. For example, as I just said, if the team needs a healer and if it turns out Dendro Archon can heal or keep the team alive, well, the person who acquired Nilou will feel pressured to obtain Kusanali if they don't already have Kokomi or don't want to use Barbara. Think of it like this: if you already have Nilou, new Dendro and Hydro characters might make the players feel obligated to obtain them if they by any chance can improve Nilou's team comp. I personally feel like this is fine because at the end of the day, the community will decide if they enjoy this type of restrictive playstyle or maybe it's not something people are interested in, because at the end of the day, people do vote with their primogems. Unless Hoyoverse pulls the ultimate move and makes Nilou absolutely broken with such a restrictive playstyle, then I guess we'll have to see what happens next. Now, I also want to quickly talk about the Phase 1 banners because I think there's a couple of interesting things about them. First of all, Venti is back, and this current Abyss cycle for him is just too good. Like, Floor 12 has several chambers where he absolutely dominates, but at the same time, it's important to understand that over time, he has become a situational animal character. There are now many enemies who resist getting pulled into the vortex. The final floor usually contains at least 1 or 2 bosses, so besides offering the usual energy restoration for the team and VV Shred that any other animo unit can do, it's not the same as it was when Genshin first launched. But with that being said, if you don't already have Kazuha or haven't built Sucrose yet, he is a really good unit that will especially shine in Abyss or challenges like Hyakunin Iki event, where he can just keep pulling in the enemies and you can keep pulverizing them with your other characters. Now as for Cyno, if we talk about value objectively and leave the thirst and emotions out of the way, I think he is only worth pulling for if you're ready to commit to a selfish character, where a team needs to build around them, because Cyno will be spending a good amount of time on the field as the main damage dealer, and if his burst is expensive, you'll still need to find a way how to activate his burst consistently. Otherwise, for Candace, just don't make the rookie mistake and try to pull a featured 4-star on the banner if no other character is interesting to you on it, because the chances can be you getting lucky within the first 10 pull, or it could take 100 to 200 before you can actually see Candace. Finally, for Phase 2 banners, one of my favorite characters, Albedo, is making a return. If you are actively using Ito, this is a great chance to pick up an awesome support. And for Nilou, well, you really need to ask yourself a question if it's worth pulling a character which locks you into a very specific team comp. I mean, don't get me wrong, nobody says you cannot use her in teams besides Dendro and Hydro, but that's basically ignoring her purpose. Although we have seen some funny examples like Elemental Mastery Raiden Shogun, where you never actually activate her burst and just use her skill to cause hyper blooms. So who knows, maybe there will be a way to utilize Nilou besides just her restrictive team comp. But all in all, I think in 3.1 update, I would hold on to my Primo Gems for now at least until Phase 2 banners, just to see the livestream, because it is possible we might get the Dendro Archon in 3.2, and it's possible she might be a game changer like Raiden was. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed watching this. I'd appreciate if you could subscribe to my channel and leave a like on the video, and you could really help my channel by clicking the link in the description or pinned comment from today's sponsor. Thank you so much for your support, and I'll see you soon.